All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling RabbitMQ.
Oh yeah, RabbitMQ.
And no, we're not talking fluffy bunnies here.
Right, right.
This is open source software, kind of a powerhouse behind the scenes of a lot of the apps and websites we use.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. It's working even when you don't realize it.
So you're saying like even if I'm, I don't know, ordering food online,
Exactly. Ordering food, watching videos,
it's involved.
yeah, making
So
sure everything's communicating properly between different parts of the application.
so this is kind of like the unsung hero of the internet,
I like that. The unsung hero, that's a good way to put it.
making sure all those messages get where they need to go, all that invisible stuff.
Yeah. And whether you're someone who writes code or you're just curious about how things work online, I think understanding RabbitMQ is kind of like getting a peek behind the curtain.
Okay. I like that. I like
It's
that.
a key player in everything from small projects to those giant tech companies we use every day.
All right, I'm hooked. So break it down for me. How does this digital postal service actually work?
Okay, so imagine this. You write a letter,
Oh.
the message, and you address it carefully.
Uh-huh.
That's what you call the routing key. And then you drop it in a mailbox.
All right.
That's the queue. And then the postal worker picks it up and delivers it to the recipient.
Okay.
That's the consumer. So RabbitMQ is like that entire postal system, kind of orchestrating that whole process.
All right, so we've got producers creating messages, queues are holding them, and consumers receiving them.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty straightforward at its core.
So far, so good.
And just like a well-run postal service, it ensures those messages get to their destination reliably, even if there are delays or disruptions along the way.
That's got to be important, especially for like if we're talking about financial transactions or something.
Right, or critical communications, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to make sure it gets there.
Okay. But real-world postal systems they're pretty complicated, right? I mean, there's sorting centers, different delivery methods.
hmm
Does RabbitMQ have something similar?
You're exactly right, it does. And that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
So in RabbitMQ, we have these things called exchanges, and they act like intelligent sorting centers for messages.
Okay.
Instead of just going directly to a specific queue, messages first go to an exchange.
So this is like a central hub.
Yeah, like a central hub directing traffic, exactly.
And then what? What happens at the exchange?
So the exchange uses these things called bindings, and there's essentially rules that determine where each message should go.
So it's more than just sending a message. It's about
Yeah.
making sure it gets to the right recipient.
Absolutely, based on specific criteria.
Okay, now that's cool.
Yeah, and what makes RabbitMQ so flexible is that it has different types of exchanges, like direct exchanges, topic exchanges, and fan-out exchanges.
Ooh, fancy names.
I know, it sounds a little jargony, but essentially, they give you incredible control over how those messages are delivered.
Okay, so we've got the basics. Producers, messages, queues, and these super smart exchanges directing traffic.
Yeah.
But why is everyone making such a big deal about RabbitMQ? I mean, what makes it so special in the world of software?
Okay, so think about it this way. Imagine you're building a house.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be easier if different teams, like
Mhm.
the plumbers, the electricians, the framers, could focus on their specific parts
Yeah.
without constantly bumping into each other?
Yeah, I mean, that would make things a lot more efficient.
Exactly, and that's one of RabbitMQ's superpowers, what we call decoupling.
Okay.
It allows different parts of an application to work independently without being directly connected.
So it's like a well-coordinated construction crew. Everyone can...
Right, they can work on their tasks without getting in each other's way.
Okay, that's cool.
And let's say you're sending a message, maybe you're placing an order online. Do you want your entire app to freeze while it's waiting for a response?
No, I've been there. That's the worst.
It is, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's where this idea of asynchronous communication comes in.
Okay.
So with RabbitMQ, you can send a message and move on to other tasks without waiting for an immediate reply.
So that keeps things moving.
Exactly. Keeps applications responsive, especially when you're dealing with time-consuming operations.
So this is kind of like
Yeah.
email versus a live phone call.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
You send it off, you don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait. You can do other things.
Okay, so we're talking speed, efficiency, no more digital waiting room.
Right, exactly.
What else does RabbitMQ bring to the table?
Okay, so imagine you're running a website and suddenly there's a huge surge in traffic.
Okay.
You don't want your servers to crash under pressure, right?
No.
So RabbitMQ can help with that through something called load balancing.
Okay.
It distributes the workload evenly, making sure no single server gets overwhelmed.
So this is like a
Yeah.
team of efficient postal workers.
Exactly. Ensuring smooth delivery even during those peak hours.
Nice. So it sounds like this is built for
Yeah.
reliability, performance, even under pressure.
Absolutely. And what if a part of the system fails?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so just like a hospital might have backup generators, RabbitMQ has this built-in fault tolerance.
Okay.
So it can keep running even if some parts experience issues,
Mm.
which is essential for, those really important applications where downtime is not an option.
Now that's some serious peace of mind.
Right. It is.
This sounds like the ultimate solution
It's pretty powerful.
for building systems that are reliable and fast and can grow.
Yeah, definitely. It's designed for scalability as well.
But where do we actually see this in action? Give me some real world example.
All right. Well, let's go back to that online order you were talking about earlier.
Okay.
So behind the scenes, RabbitMQ might be handling everything from processing that order to updating inventory to sending you shipping notifications.
So even when I'm just casually browsing, like for deals online.
Yes, RabbitMQ could be working its magic in the background.
Wow, it's everywhere.
It really is. And it's not just e-commerce. Think about logging and monitoring systems.
Okay.
It can collect data from all sorts of sources,
Mm.
like servers and applications, and route that data to the right places for analysis.
So it's like a central nervous system.
Yeah, for your infrastructure, keeping track of everything that's happening.
I like that analogy.
And then there's task queues.
Okay.
Imagine a website needs to process a bunch of images or send out a ton of emails. RabbitMQ can take on those time-consuming tasks, freeing up the main application to stay responsive.
So it's all about keeping things running smoothly.
Exactly. It's like having a dedicated team handling those background tasks.
That's pretty amazing. I'm starting to see how this is used in so many ways that I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it's pretty pervasive.
Okay, but have you ever noticed how software just seems to be built differently these days?
What do you mean?
Like instead of these big, massive applications, it's all more modular, more interconnected.
Yeah, you're right.
Is that where RabbitMQ comes into play?
Absolutely. It's a key player in two of the biggest trends in software development right now.
Huh.
Microservices and event-driven architecture.
Okay, those sound interesting.
Yeah, they're kind of new ways of thinking about building software.
Okay, tell me more.
So think of microservices like a city with specialized districts.
Okay.
Each one responsible for a specific function. So instead of one giant application,
Yeah.
it's broken down into smaller, independent services that communicate with each other.
Okay.
And RabbitMQ acts like the city's public transportation system, connecting all those services and allowing them to work together seamlessly.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. So it's about breaking down complexity,
Right, exactly.
creating more manageable systems. All right, what about event-driven architecture?
So imagine a chain reaction where each event triggers a series of actions.
Okay.
For example, a user clicks Buy Now on a website that could trigger events that process the order, update inventory, send notifications.
Wow.
And RabbitMQ is often the messenger in these systems, capturing those events as messages and distributing them to the right places.
So it's all about being responsive, reacting to things in real time.
Yeah, building those dynamic systems that we're seeing more and more of these days.
It sounds like RabbitMQ is essential for
I think
the kind of applications that we're relying on more and more in this world.
Definitely. It's a key enabler for a lot of the technologies we use every day.
But before we get too carried away with all these new approaches,
Right.
let's step back and remember why RabbitMQ is so popular in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
What are its strengths as a messaging system?
Right, the fundamentals.
Yeah, what makes it stand out?
So those strengths, those really boil down to a few key advantages.
Okay, let's hear them.
All right, first and foremost, reliability.
Okay.
RabbitMQ is like a digital courier service that guarantees your messages will reach their destination.
Like a signed, sealed delivery kind of thing.
Exactly. It uses features like durable queues, message acknowledgements, persistent messages to ensure that nothing gets lost, even if there are, hiccups along the way.
So it's like registered mail with a delivery confirmation.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, what else makes it so appealing?
Flexibility.
Okay.
RabbitMQ is like a Swiss Army knife for message handling. It can be tailored to fit a wide range of needs and architectural designs. So different types of exchanges, routing options, integrations all allow you to create custom solutions for pretty much any messaging scenario.
So it can adapt, it can evolve as your needs change.
Exactly. And that's crucial in the tech world.
What else should we add to this list of awesomeness?
Performance.
Okay.
RabbitMQ is built for speed and efficiency. It can handle a massive amount of messages without breaking a sweat.
All right, so we're talking speed and efficiency.
Absolutely. It's like a high-performance engine for message delivery.
So it sounds like it's a top choice for developers who need things to move quickly.
Especially for applications that demand high throughput and low latency.
Okay, what else makes it so developer-friendly?
Ease of use. So while it's incredibly powerful, RabbitMQ doesn't require you to be like a coding genius to get started.
Okay, good.
It comes with management tools, a user-friendly interface that make it, surprisingly straightforward to monitor and control the flow of messages.
So it's powerful, but not intimidating.
Exactly. That's what we want.
All right. Anything else to add to this already pretty impressive list?
One more crucial factor, community and support.
Oh, yeah. Community is so important.
It really is. And because RabbitMQ is open source, it has a thriving community of developers and users
Okay.
who contribute to its development, offer tons of knowledge and support.
So it's like having a global network of experts.
Exactly. Ready to help you solve any challenges you might encounter.
It's amazing how much we've covered already. I feel like I have.
Yeah, we've gone through a lot.
Much better grasp of what RabbitMQ is, how it works, and, why it's so important in the software world.
And we're just getting started. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the features that make RabbitMQ so secure.
Okay.
Especially when handling sensitive data, we'll also unravel those different types of exchanges in more detail.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll give you a better understanding of how to choose the right one for your specific needs.
All right, can't wait. See you in part 2.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our RabbitMQ deep dive.
It's amazing how much this whole idea of message queuing really affects so many things we do online.
Yeah, it really is. But before we get too far, I got to ask about security, especially when we're talking about all this data moving around.
Oh, absolutely. Security it's paramount, especially when we're dealing with sensitive information. And RabbitMQ is designed to deliver those messages, not only quickly and efficiently, but securely as well.
So it's not just about speed.
No.
It's got to be safe, too.
Definitely. It's like a digital postal service that takes security just as seriously as delivering the mail on time.
Okay, so what kind of measures does it have in place?
Well, think of it like a building with multiple layers of security.
Very
so
good.
First you have authentication and authorization.
Okay.
Just like you need to log into a secure website.
Right.
Users and applications need valid credentials to connect to RabbitMQ.
So it's like a digital ID check.
Yeah.
To make sure you're supposed to be there.
Make sure you're allowed in, and then there's encryption.
Okay.
So imagine those messages traveling in like a secure locked container. RabbitMQ uses TLS, that's transport layer security, to encrypt that communication channel.
So even if someone's trying to eavesdrop.
Right? Even if they intercept that data, they won't be able to read it.
That's good to know. What else?
We also have access control lists. We call them ACLs.
ACLs, okay.
Yeah, and they're kind of like security guards for different parts of the system.
Okay.
They define who can access which queues, exchanges, even individual messages.
So it's about control. It's about having different levels of clearance.
Exactly. You can get very granular with the permissions.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the messages themselves while they're just sitting there in RabbitMQ?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, are they protected?
So while RabbitMQ doesn't inherently encrypt data at rest, it does give you the flexibility to integrate with external encryption solutions.
Okay.
So organizations can choose the best approach based on their own security needs.
So it's like having the option to store those messages in a vault if you need to.
Right, exactly, with even more layers of protection.
Okay, that makes sense. Sounds like security's taken very seriously here.
It is, and it's an ongoing process. It's important to stay informed about best practices and keep those systems updated.
Right.
But I think we're ready to move on to those sorting centers we talked about earlier.
Yes. The exchanges.
The exchanges, you got it.
Tell me all about the different types, how they work.
Okay, so remember, exchanges are those routing hubs that receive messages from producers, and then they direct them to the right queues based on certain rules. And RabbitMQ has several types of exchanges.
Okay.
Each one is designed for different situations, and we'll cover the most common ones. Direct, fan out, topic, and headers exchanges.
Okay, let's start with the simplest one.
Okay.
Direct exchanges. What's the deal with those?
So direct exchanges are kind of like a straightforward delivery service.
Okay.
They route messages based on an exact match between what we call the routing key and the binding key. It's like sending a letter to a specific address. If the address on the letter matches the address on the mailbox, it gets delivered.
So there's no room for error.
Yeah, it's very precise.
No ambiguity.
With direct exchanges, it's a perfect match or no delivery.
Got it. But what if I want to send a message to like a bunch of people, like a company-wide announcement or something?
That's where fan-out exchanges shine.
Fan out, okay.
Yeah, so fan-out exchanges are like broadcasting a message to everyone on a mailing list.
So it's like a mass email blast?
Exactly. They deliver messages to all queues that are bound to them, regardless of the routing key.
So everyone gets it?
Everyone gets it, no exceptions.
Okay, that's useful for certain situations.
Right, for scenarios where you just need to get that message out to everybody.
But what if you want more control over who gets it? Like if you're sending a newsletter to people who've opted in for specific topics?
Right, so you want some filtering.
Yeah.
That's where topic exchanges come in.
Topic, okay.
Yeah, so topic exchanges route messages based on a pattern matching system. Using routing keys and binding keys that can include wildcards.
So it's like categories and subcategories.
Exactly. Think of it like that.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, so imagine a system that processes news articles.
Okay.
You could have a topic exchange where the routing key includes the news category.
Okay.
Like sports, politics, technology. And then consumers could bind their queues using those wildcards to receive only the categories they're interested in.
So it's like subscribing to specific sections of a newspaper.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it.
All right, so we've got direct, fan out, topic. What about headers exchanges? Those sound a bit more mysterious.
They do sound a bit more advanced, right?
Yeah.
So headers exchanges are actually the most flexible type.
Okay.
They allow you to route messages based on the message headers instead of the routing key.
So this is like a super customizable routing system.
Exactly. It's like sending a letter based on, the recipient's age or location or interests.
Right, instead of just their address.
Exactly. Instead of just the address.
When would you use a headers exchange?
So they're often used for more complex routing scenarios.
Okay.
Where you have criteria that's based on multiple attributes of the message.
Okay.
So, for example, you could route messages to consumers based on the message priority or the content type, or even the presence of some custom headers that you define.
So you can really fine-tune it.
You can really fine-tune it. It gives you a lot of control.
So we've got these 4 different types of exchanges.
4 main types, yeah.
Each one with its own strengths, use cases.
Exactly. Choosing the right one depends on how your application is designed, what kind of messages you're dealing with. And the great thing is you can use different types of exchanges within the same RabbitMQ setup.
So it's like having a toolbox full of different tools.
Exactly. You can mix and match to handle all sorts of different messaging scenarios.
I'm feeling a lot more confident in my understanding of exchanges now.
I'm glad to hear that because they're really key to designing efficient and effective messaging systems.
This has been great. We've gone from the very basics of RabbitMQ all the way to these more sophisticated concepts like exchanges and how they route messages.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still more to come, right?
Absolutely. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the advanced techniques that make RabbitMQ so robust and resilient.
Okay.
We'll talk about clustering for high availability, message acknowledgments to guarantee delivery, and we'll even touch on those undeliverable mailboxes, the dead letter queues.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about that. See you in part 3.
See you then.
Welcome back to our RabbitMQ deep dive. We're in the final stretch now. Last time we talked about exchanges, those intelligent routing hubs.
Yeah, those are key.
But now it's time to explore some of those more advanced techniques that really make RabbitMQ shine.
It's like we've learned the basics, now we're getting into the pro features.
Exactly, those features that help handle those tricky situations.
Right, make sure those messages get through no matter what.
Let's talk about clustering first. You mentioned it briefly before, something about having multiple locations working together.
Yeah, so imagine if our digital postal service had like multiple post offices.
Okay.
All connected and sharing the workload. So even if one post office had a problem,
right,
the others could keep processing mail.
So it's about having backups.
Exactly. Redundancy. That's the key.
Making sure things can keep running.
Especially for those critical applications, you can't have downtime.
So with RabbitMQ, you can create a cluster of nodes.
Right, so you distribute the workload, create that safety net.
So if one fails,
the others can take over.
Seamlessly.
Yeah, like a team of postal workers,
Yeah.
always ready to jump in.
Okay, clustering. That makes sense for high availability, but let's zoom in on the individual messages for a second.
Okay.
How do we guarantee that a message actually arrives safely?
Good question. That's where message acknowledgments come in.
Okay. Acknowledgements.
Think of it like signing for a package. You're confirming you received it.
Okay.
So in RabbitMQ, consumers send those acknowledgments back to the system after they've successfully processed a message.
So it's a way to verify.
Yeah, like a digital handshake saying, hey, I got it and I handled it.
I got it. I took care of it.
Exactly.
What happens if a consumer doesn't send that acknowledgement?
Well, if it doesn't come back within a certain time frame, RabbitMQ assumes something went wrong. And it can redeliver that message maybe to a different consumer.
So it's like the postal service returning the package.
Right. If nobody's home, they'll try again later.
Okay, so there's a backup plan.
There's always a backup plan.
But I'm curious, what happens to those messages that can't be delivered even after trying multiple times? Do they just get lost?
That's where those undeliverable mailboxes come in. We call them dead letter queues.
Dead letter queues, okay.
Yeah, they're like a safe haven for messages that run into problems.
So they don't just disappear.
No. They get set aside.
They go to this special queue.
Exactly. And then administrators can look at them, figure out what went wrong.
So it's like...
Maybe the address is wrong. Maybe the message itself got corrupted.
It's like a detective investigating those undelivered messages.
Yeah. Trying to solve the mystery of why they couldn't get through.
Okay, that makes sense. So you have all these features working together to make sure that the system is really robust.
Reliable, resilient.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
We started with the basics of RabbitMQ, went through real-world examples, explored exchanges and routing.
And now all these advanced techniques.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has, and it really highlights how much complexity is involved in the apps we use every day.
You don't even think about it.
You don't, it just works.
But knowing how it works...
It's a whole new appreciation, right?
Yeah, it really does. It's like seeing behind the scenes.
Exactly, and it makes you realize just how intricate these systems really are.
So for our listeners who want to keep learning, what are some key takeaways they should remember from our RabbitMQ adventure?
Well, first and foremost, RabbitMQ it's incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
It's a message broker that helps applications talk to each other reliably. And those core concepts, the producers, the consumers, the queues, those exchanges.
Those are the foundation.
That's the foundation. And then those different exchange types, it's like having different tools for different jobs.
Right, different ways to route those messages.
Exactly, and when you add in those advanced features we talked about.
The clustering, the acknowledgements, dead letter queues.
It all comes together to create a system that's not just efficient, but really robust and resilient.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of RabbitMQ.
It has been fun.
I feel like I've learned so much.
You too.
And for our listeners out there,
Don't stop here. Keep exploring.
Yeah, the RabbitMQ community is amazing. Lots of resources out there to keep learning.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, happy messaging.